we're live. Hi guys, welcome to Bar Chat. We have a special show this evening, which is all about the Six Nations. It's a bit of a fan fair. We've got our English fans here, we've got our Irish fans here, and we've got our Welsh fans here to discuss not only what happened last weekend on our round one of games, but also the coming up and coming weekend and a little bit of rugby banter, shall we say. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe the channel. We're all new to this, so we're hoping everything's going to be working fine. It's not been so smooth before we came online, but hopefully we're all cool now. I just want to give it a little, we'll start off with a little intro on the guests that we have here. So in the studio, representing England, shall we say, I have Dan Visser, one of our locals. This is kind of like in the pub with a mic, Dan. So it should just be normal for us, really, just having a pint as we normally do. Cheers,
mate. Yeah, regular. This is the place to come and watch rugby, so why not talk about it as well?
Thank you, mate. So Dan's a local. Dan, you're at the Langdale, aren't you? Lots going on down there. Massive refurb this year, wasn't there?
Yeah, work up at the Langdale estate. Yeah, we're got a huge project on with our leisure facilities at the moment, which is causing a wee bit of drama, but.
I read something about the biggest refurb since 1938 or something like
that.
Is that the stats?
Yeah, it's causing us a few headaches. So getting away from it all to come for a few beers and chat rubbish with you guys is
perfect.
Is a good
perfect.
relief.
And Dan's also head over at chair over at Cumbria Tourism, so you can report back to us how well we're going to do for the next. Oh right, don't shake it.
It's going to be awesome. This summer's going to be unreal. Looking forward to it.
It's so far so good. Can't argue. We've also got Callum with us, who's kind of England fan as well, aren't you, Callum? But Callum's going to give us all of our stats today. He's our stat man, knowing everything rugby and Six Nations, obviously. Regular in here, I would say.
Yeah, running fast and loose with the word stats man, but we'll go with it.
And also in the studio, we've got David Williams, our Welsh contingent. Let me just put the camera on. There we go, David.
What a handsome bloke.
What a very handsome man. Yes. How are you, dear boy?
I'm okay.
Good. Well, David runs the New Hall Inn. Is that right? Is that the
New Hall Bank?
New Hall Bank.
New Hall Bank guest house.
B&B here in the heart of Bowness. Superb views of the lake. Anything else we need to be saying about it, David?
It's just a place to come and visit. And
lovely breakfast, I hear.
Superb breakfast.
Yeah.
I would say I make it myself, but that would be a lie. My boss makes it.
I thought you were the breakfast man.
No, I deliver it. I don't make it.
Oh, fair enough. And then joining us remotely, where are you? You want? Oh, well, we can see you. Yes, joining us remotely is Jim O'Toole, old friend of mine. We haven't probably spoken for about 12 years, but I knew as to be a massive Irish rugby fan. I mean, very interested. Just to, if we can touch on it, Jim. Jim had been in rugby for a long time, well, sport all of his life, but been in rugby, commercial director at London Irish, and then on to Worcester Warriors, and then you had to go back and save them. From what I could see, is that something you're still involved with, Jim, or is that over now?
It is an ongoing situation, and if I told you what was going on, I'd have to kill you.
Oh, really? It's like that.
Yeah.
Oh, are you still involved with
the fluid situation?
Really? Well, it's funny because I was looking at it. I was looking at it online the other day, and funny enough, Dave and I were talking before we came on camera. I mean, it's obviously a lot of the clubs have struggled with rugby. It hasn't got the money that football's got. In fact, I read an article in the Telegraph yesterday, which was all about all 13 of the Premier League clubs are struggling to make money or showing a loss. I mean, it's a difficult time, isn't it?
The brutal reality of it is, much as we all love the sport, and it is a fantastic game of brilliant values and great entertainment, when it went professional or open, as they called it in 1995, it did so unexpectedly and overnight. There was a meeting in Paris of what was then called the International Rugby Board, and everybody was expecting the concept of professionalism to be knocked on the head, and they panicked and said, no, that's fine, off you go. We all know that you're paying players under the table in boot money and brown envelopes. So off you go, and you can play them. So what they did was they decided to pay the players. Then after they started paying the players, they thought, shit, where are we going to get the money from? And that, my friends, has been the problem since day one.
Wow.
Just because you're allowed to pay the players doesn't mean that the money is there to do so. And the game has never really caught up. That's the brutal and honest reality of it. You know, we're in the middle of the Six Nations. Everybody gets very excited about it. Everybody's an expert. We've all got a rugby shirt, witness all of us. And that makes us experts in the game. The reality of it is not enough people follow professional club rugby, especially in England and Wales. A wee bit less so in Ireland and Scotland. But not enough people pay to go and watch the game. Therein lies the problem. All experts on England, all desperate to get tickets for Six Nations and Autumn Internationals, but not enough people go or have a reason to go and spend money with the professional game. That's the crux of the issue.
Well, I read two things. Like the biggest stadium is something like 16,500, which is obviously a vast difference from anything in soccer or football or whatever. But also, there doesn't seem to be that harmony. Like one of the things that I read was in the article was with broadcasters and sponsors, there's no harmony between, like you say, the Six Nations. The Premiership is going on at the same time, so they have lesser gate money and lesser attraction for the broadcaster, and it's self-fulfilling prophecy there.
That was the problem until this very week, this very tournament. The demise of 4 professional clubs, Irish, Warriors, neither of whom I was there at the time they went bust, by the way. I'd left them long before that happened. Can I just say Wasps and Jersey Reds has brought into sharp focus the reality of what's going on. So what Premiership Rugby have done is they're now down to 10 teams, 5 games a weekend, and they're now on holiday whilst the Six Nations is on, so there's no conflict. Whereas previously, you would have had that issue, which was basically from a marketing perspective, you sell somebody a season ticket for whatever it is, 600-700 quid, and for maybe between Autumn Internationals and Six Nations, you were losing your international players that you were spending money on a season ticket to watch for maybe 8 to 10 weeks out of a 22-week season. Just didn't make sense. So that's one of the positives of it being a smaller league. I think there are some downsides, but it is what it is, and we are where we are. But I think it's a positive that the fans of those season ticket holders are getting better value for money this year, I think.
Mm. I mean, you're also doing some work with grassroots. I mean, David's over here, and I know that that we were talking about this earlier, David. But your son-in-law is involved with grassroots rugby as well, and trying to, because there's also what they're saying is there are less people getting involved in rugby as well. So I mean, that's not going to help the game. But your son-in-law is doing a good job in terms of working at grassroots level.
Let me first say that disappointingly, my son-in-law is English.
Yeah,
and he's one of the head teachers of rugby in Norfolk, and he's just started up his own business. It's called Access Academy, and it's what he's doing. Where rugby in England, normally the players that go to England are from private schools, and they have been for over the last, well, probably forever. He is a sports teacher, a rugby teacher for a school in Norfolk called Aylsham High. And he is now starting up his own business to allow people from public schools the same access to teams like Leicester, I think maybe Northampton. The backing he's had, in all fairness, from people like Ben and Tom Youngs. He's very friendly with the fullback Freddie Stewart and Jack Van Poorfield. You've had great response from the rugby world in that area, and they've backed him up, and he is doing a fantastic job, in all fairness to him.
it's a go on, sorry.
There's a big trend towards trying to reduce the dependence on private schools.
Yeah,
It's a brilliant,
yeah,
it's a brilliant documentary that one of my business partners has just produced on Ellis Genge, the Bristol ex Leicester player.
yeah.
Basically, putting it in very simple terms, his whole story is I am. He's actually a person of mixed race from a rough part of Bristol.
Yeah,
And rugby has provided me with my salvation. And you know what? People like me are bloody good at rugby because we've got that pent up anger and physicality, and that you need for rugby, and I mean that in a positive way. And that point you make about Norfolk and all of East Anglia, what those boys have is farmers' strength. It's like the Youngs. You're right. And farmers' strength takes you a hell of a long way in rugby.
Really agree though. He's had in all fairness, there's a couple of youngsters, I don't know their names, but there's a couple of youngsters already been signed up for Leicester, and Dean has been invited. Dean is my son-in-law's name. Dean has been invited to take I think it's the under 16s, take the whole course for the weekend, and in Leicester itself, being invited by Leicester to go over and take the courses for the weekend, which is a fantastic for him.
Wow, good for him.
Yeah, it's starting to go well. You've only started in the last few months, and I'm not sure the exact numbers, but it's in the hundreds already. The youngsters that's attending the courses with him on a weekly basis.
The big thing about it is every farmer's boy from Norfolk or East Anglia that the Saints and Tigers find, it's one less South African or New Zealander or Australian or Irish that have to bring in on big bucks, and it'll make the financial equation a bit easier.
Yeah, you're right enough.
Jim, I'm just calling you on the other line. Will you just answer it for me? It's so we just got a feed on. Thank you. That was all. I was I got lost on the connection.
Sorry,
there.
My phone battery's gone, but I'll charge it up. I'll open that in a second.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries. When you've done that, we'll do it. No problem. Okay, guys. Well, I mean, we're going to get into the brighter side of the game, shall we? In terms of in terms of moving forward, we've all enjoyed the first round of matches that happened this weekend, and we've got one of the things that I wanted to really get into is that I know I'll start with you, David. Because I know you're passionate. The passion that runs through when the Welsh are here. We had them in our bar. I think it was was it for the World Cup? What it was, yeah. When we had your lot, and that was an experience and a half. I can tell you, there's a lot of Welshmen in one room. Is a passionate Welshman in rugby men in one room was quite an experience. But so I just wanted to have a little thing of just asking you guys of your first experience. I assume going to Cardiff Arms Park, would it have been? As a rugby fan, and what your early experience. I can briefly tell you mine. I mean, I only went to Twickenham. Actually, is the only time I went to see Barbarians play the All Blacks. But quite a funny story, is more football related. But when I first went to Arsenal, my first experience of going in a stadium, and I remembering all of the the smells and the horse shit mixed with fried onions as you're walking up to the ground, and then when you get in the ground. But I remember as a kid going, and I used to go in my full kit. So I'd wear the shirt, the shorts, and I'd wear my socks.
You still do, man.
Yeah.
Full kit on now.
This is true. No, but I'd have the full kit on, and I'd also have a pair of shin pads. And I'd used to go from football practice. So in my bag, in my rucksack, was a pair of boots. And I absolutely 12-year-old me was completely convinced that if they were a little bit short, and whilst there's 54,000 people in this stadium, how many of them have got the shorts, the socks, the shirt, shin pads, and a pair of boots on? So needless to say, I never got called up, but they were my very early experiences of being in the stadium and seeing, a club or a country play you love. I don't know what your early experiences are, David.
Well, my early experience, probably the first year I went, I was probably 13 or 14, and we used to go up from the local club. There'd be a bus run up to Cardiff from where I'm from, a little place called Cumgrach in the Neath Valley, and probably a 40-minute drive to Cardiff. And I remember going into 14, you couldn't drink. Well, you might have sneak a little pint here and there. But I only looked about 10 at the time. But the first thing I remember was being in the West enclosure in the National Stadium, which is Cardiff Arms Park. And the piss running down the steps continuously, right through the both halves. It's just incredible. If you want to go to the toilet, you went where you were.
No one went in. Yeah,
You
I remember
couldn't get
this.
out. Everything was standing in the West enclosure. It was all standing. No seating. East enclosure and the West enclosure all standing. Bottom of the South enclosure all standing. All the North was a brand new stand with all the seats. That's where the rich people went. The people who were, like yourself, Mark.
I wish.
But that was one of the first experiences I remember. Was all the
All the piss.
piss coming down.
Oh dear. What about yourself, Callum?
My first international game was actually last weekend. I went and watched.
Oh, did you?
I went and watched Italy, England in Rome.
Never.
So
Brilliant.
yeah, this is my first pint since. It was a long weekend, but yeah, amazing stadium.
Was it
Great game to watch.
good atmosphere?
Yeah, the atmosphere is really good. We were in the heart of the Italian fans.
Oh God.
At half time, they were in absolutely amazing spirits. They were up at half time, and yeah, there was a lot of beer.
Yeah.
And
So, is it? And dare I ask, super expensive? What? How did you get tickets? Is that on a?
cheaper. We just went online and found them £27, which
Not
is
bad at
next to
all.
nothing. We were
Wow.
quite high up, but yeah,
But you got all the atmosphere. And,
yeah, all the atmosphere, and beer was €6-7 in the stadium, so
Yeah.
cheaper than you'd get it at any
So-
game here.
So did Dad not used to take you to the rugby as a, when you were younger?
So we've been and watched quite a lot of club games.
Well, I used to take him. I used to be the one standing on the sidelines when he was playing for Kirby as a little kid. I was the parent that used to have to ferry them all backwards and forwards between the games all the time. So
Oh right,
Yeah.
okay.
it was all right to watch.
He still stands on the sidelines now.
Still go to Windermere up the road here on our community club and go and stand on the sidelines and watch the game. There's a game on Saturday. If anybody's around, we can go and watch Egremont, I think.
Yep.
It's coming Saturday to go and watch. Be a good game.
Is it what aren't we supposed to get 6 inches of snow or something?
Yeah, it's forecast to snow a lot today, but
This is the thing about being up north, Jim. You see, we have a lot more of this sort of weather. You see, interferes with our game.
Social calendar. Yeah.
And your memory, Jim? What's your earliest memory of either Irish rugby or rugby?
I didn't. I lived in Belfast, so I never went to watch Ireland play rugby until I was really fairly. I think I was about 30 something. But my first experiences of rugby were actually several at Twickenham. I moved to London in 83, 84. And in 85, I got to see the famous Australian team that did the Grand Slam, where they bashed all of the home nations on their European tour. Shane Gould and the Ella brothers and people like that. But weirdly, up until now, I've probably been to Cardiff more times than I have Lansdowne Road or the Aviva. I actually
Obviously
I'm
a
not
better stadium.
Pardon?
Oh,
Oh, no, I was
Obviously a
gonna
better
say-
stadium.
I'm not a huge fan of the Aviva. I just don't think it works physically, or it just doesn't quite work. And I know there's restrictions about what they can and can't do, but I don't think there's anywhere better in the world to watch rugby. And I've been all over the world, Japan and all over the shop watching rugby, and there's nowhere better than sorry, I nearly said the Millennium. It's not the Millennium anymore. What's it called now? The Principality.
Principality.
Any stadium that can have 90,000 people in a pub within 15 minutes of the final whistle works for me. I've always loved it. And the first game I remember was it was a wooden spoon game between Ireland and Wales. We were both crap, and I think Ireland won it something like 12-11. It was a horrible game. It wasn't a great atmosphere. Nobody was very happy, but the colors and the smells and all the rest of it stuck with me. This is pre the new stadium, obviously. But I love going there. My daughter's at university in Cardiff, so I used to go 2 or 3 times a year for different things. I love it. I think it's a fantastic stadium. I really do.
Brilliant. Well, I'm feeling a bit sorry for Dan because he can't actually hear what you're saying, but we'll have to fill you in, mate. You'll have to look. You'll have to watch it.
I'm back on. So I'll answer. If you ring me now, I'll answer your call.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah. Let's do that. There'll be such a simple fix for this as well. It's just so irritating.
You're not missing anything, Dan. By the way.
Can you hear now?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. All right. Well, listen, but let's get into it. Let's get into things. So, round one was opened on Friday night. We've got the two favourites, I think, in most people's eyes, and then the Irish obviously going over to France with a bonus point victory, 38-17. I mean, one of the things that really sort of came to me, obviously, the sending off made a massive difference to the game. It was one thing I wanted to mention with you guys. I mean, 2 high tackles. Apparently, the second one was a straight red as well. Does that mean he gets a longer ban? What happens on that?
No, I think he only got 2 games.
Right. Okay.
They combined the 2, I think. So that instead of, it would have been a 10-week ban, but they said that would be unfair.
Right.
And they brought it down.
Oh, okay.
And he has to go to tackle school or whatever they call it now.
Well, I mean, in whole, I think, extra man or not, they were too strong. It was a superb performance. I mean, one of the things I was listening to on the TV the next day was whether the idea that, does it ruin the game? I mean, you've talked about going to the stadium and you've got a situation where you've got, a big match. You've then got 14 against 15. Is it perhaps an idea? I'd be interested to ask all of you really on this thought of whether, there might be, a bit like, was it the Super League where you go into a sin bin. Now, the player might not be able to come back on, but you could replace the player after, say, 20 minutes, I think is the format. Would that make a better format? Because a lot of the stuff people are saying was just because, it's just because it was 14-15, albeit you were quite way up at the time, I think, when it happened. What's anyone's thoughts on that? Or do you think if you're off, you're off?
Look,
I think if you've committed a foul or a high tackle or whatever it is that deserves to be off, then you're off. That's just play a better tackle.
Yeah,
but, the players know, and I appreciate there's heat at the moment, and it's all very, very fast moving game. But if you do something that you deserve to go off for a little while, then so be it. And it's the same for both teams. It's not like it's unfair on anybody. So everybody knows the rules. Everybody's really clear on the rules. Just crack on and get on with it. It's the same for both sides. So it's just part of the game, and the game is evolving really fast. The rules didn't change. Certainly when I played years and years ago, right up until recently, the rules didn't really change. Whereas now they change really, really quickly. But the players, as we were talking about right at the start, with Jim, the players are professionals. They're paid to be there. They're paid to train all day, every day. So it's up to them to be up to date with the rules and just the way it is. It's good. Yeah. I think it's better for the game. Moving quickly.
There's the overarching thing that the World Rugby, as the governing body, are terrified of the impacts of head injuries to players, and that's why there's such a focus on any contact with the head. And I mean, I've got to say, Yaman Willemse, why did he do the same thing twice within whatever it was, 15 or 20 minutes? He's a big lad. He's a huge lad, and he's got a long way to go down. But to your point, he knows the rules. Bend your knees, get as low as you can, get in there, even though that's the heat of the moment and all that stuff. Because if you're going to hurt somebody, it's going to have a long-lasting impact on them. The governing bodies are just so paranoid about class actions from players because of head injuries and long-lasting damage. They have the only way they can influence it is by punishing players who don't stick to the laws, as you say, Dan. And they just have to suck it up and change their game accordingly.
Exactly. And player safety should be the priority for everybody. The last thing we want is a whole load of players who are going to suffer long-lasting injuries in the future. It's just for our entertainment. Fair enough, they're earning a living at the same time, which is fantastic.
Is there evidence? Is there statistics evidence? I'm gonna be really old school and be perhaps here. This game's been going however long, and now I mean, like in football, they're talking about, heading in the old medicine ball has caused blah, blah. Is there, do you know where I'm going with this? It's like, are we being over? I mean, you play rugby all your life. You look all right to me. I mean, the shirt's a bit dodgy, but I mean, you look all right otherwise.
Really?
Yeah, but the problem, Mark, is
Personally,
Dave
I
was
think,
playing.
yeah.
When Dave was playing, a centre was probably 11 stone 3. Now he's 16 stone 12.
I get you.
There is
No.
that. Men are bigger, stronger. I totally agree with that. They're gonna learn. Me personally, it's tackling upright. It's got to be stopped. When you tackle upright, chance of hitting head to head is 9 out of 10. You're gonna hit head to head if you're direct. They've got to get down lower, and that's something they've got to push forward. Is getting down lower. And like with Williamson now in for France, he got sent off, but twice he went in down low. He went in and straight for the head. Unfortunately, it's for me it was a straight red. Personally, that's what I think.
Yeah.
There was one in the Welsh game where they went into the centre, shoulder into the head. He didn't even give a penalty. So the referees are going to get together and start seeing the game the same way. And we all think the same. The English, when you're English, when you're Welsh, when you're Scotch, it's got to be ref the same all the time. All these refs have got to be singing from the same hymn book.
And one assumes it's got to come in with grassroots. You're there doing that every week. I mean, how does it manifest itself at grassroots level?
Our laws this season just have changed drastically. So now we get penalised at grassroots level for tackling above the sternum. So we've had to drop our tackles massively.
Yeah,
And
so
from pre-season to the season starting, we had to drop our tackles in that time period. I went up to the referees meeting in Cumbria refereeing.
Go on, Jim.
Sorry, I was just asking, did players adapt quickly? Adapt, rather?
I think referees were very forgiving to start with. Teams that play a mixture of rugby league and rugby union players are the teams that I've noticed have struggled more with it. The rugby league tackle's very different and they've struggled. But to be honest, I think we've had some good refereeing that's allowed us to carry on playing a nice flowing game of rugby. They haven't been stopping it for every single tackle, but they have been.
And that's important, isn't it? Because you don't want to ruin the game. You don't.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's the avid part of the enjoyment. I feel some way with football, VAR's done that to it. It's taken on a different mantle, but obviously the safety of the. I think the point you've made, which I've never heard, is 11 stone, 16 stone, a hell of a lot more damage.
Absolutely. When I was playing, I'm older than a lot older than this young man. I'm a lot older than these boys. When I was playing, a 15 stone man was huge.
Right, yeah.
But where I'm from, a 15 stone man, even in the pack, you might have a few 16, 17 stoners, but they weren't 6'6".
Yeah.
It's few and far between. But now, people are just huge. I spoke to a few professional rugby players. And I'm not small. And I'm looking at a foot to these guys. And they wide, they're just gigantic men. Yeah. So when they're running, take Colorado, what's he, 100 meters in 10 seconds, whatever, and 18, 19 stone.
Yeah.
Two of them hitting together. Wow. That's a collision.
The other problem that Dave, just to echo your point there, is that the whole academy system in professional rugby clubs is they're breeding kids like that from a very, very early age.
Very young age, yeah, I agree.
It's the biggest boys, the guys that can put the beef on and they'll be able to hold their own. They always said when I was chief exec at Worcester, whatever, 6-7 years ago, you guys were coming through the academy at 18, and the director of rugby was saying, yeah, but they're no use to me until they're 21, 22, 23, until they put on enough beef to be able to compete with people. It's all about the big hits and the food that these guys eat. You have never seen anything like it in your life. The amount of protein.
I'll tell you a little story though. When Jonathan Davis, the fly half of Wales, when he went to rugby league, I'm going back around 1988, 89, he went up there and he was, I'm not quite sure exact weight, he was about 12 stone. And by the time he started playing for Witness, he was 2.5 stone heavier in a very, very short time. This is what they're doing with rugby union and all. Now,
Yeah.
they're beefing people up, aren't they? I remember Jonathan Davis just bulking up from a slight little fella, a great player, but he bulked up to play rugby league. And then what are they doing now? They are bulking these kids up from a young age, like you just said.
So they have to take these precautions to change the game as such.
Yeah.
But all in all, getting back to the game, Jim, great performance. I mean, were you expecting that? I mean, did you what did you go into that thinking that was going to be the way? I mean, they're very sort of South Africa-esque, I thought.
I have to tell you, I could not bring myself to think about Irish rugby after the quarterfinal. I just blocked it all from my mind. It was just brutal. In my other life, I'm a Man City fan, and the equivalent was when we lost to Wigan Athletic in the FA Cup final. I managed to block it from my memory. I was there with my daughter. It was her first cup final, and I blocked the whole thing from my memory. When I see it on TV or YouTube, I think, oh yeah, I was there. So that World Cup or that quarterfinal was just, it's hard to describe just how.
Well, I heard someone saying the French and the Irish have been impacted by that.
Well, they were. Well, we both same thing. You know, we lost by a point, and it was like a slow motion car crash. We were so good.
And both.
I was over for the. I went for the South Africa game, and it was just one of the best sports events I'd ever been to. I had a ticket for the quarterfinal, but it didn't go because I've been to the last 3 quarterfinals that Ireland have lost in the World Cup, and I decided it was me. I was a scud, so I said no, I won't go. And watching it on my sofa, it was heartbreaking. It was just because we absolutely had the squad, and we had the game, and we had the coaches, we had everything. It was just sickening, just absolutely sickening in a way that only sport can do. We've all been there. I'm sure you've been there with Wales, and England have definitely been there. But I just had to block it out. And watching the game on Friday night was the first time I've actually thought about Ireland. I got my shirt on, and I thought they were magnificent. I don't understand the Dupont playing sevens thing. I don't understand why he can't do both, but what do I know? But you could just see that him and Ntamack are so important, that French squad. And also, I think they've had a terrible negative hangover the way I personally did. But I thought Ireland were magnificent, just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think France have got over it in quite the same way Ireland have. They seem to still have a bit of a World Cup hangover, and no Dupont seemed to make a massive difference.
Same thing happened in Wales in 2011 when we got to the semi-final, and Warburton was sent off in 8 minutes. We only lost 9-8 or by 1 point after playing the game with 40 men. I thought we were the best team out in 2011. I thought we were guaranteed to win the World Cup. And he sent him off in the semi-final. Broke my heart. We didn't get over it. A lot of Welsh people didn't get over that for a long time.
It does break your heart. Exactly, you're right. You're absolutely right. The fact that knowing that you could have won it is the heartbreaking thing. If you lose, you lose. You know.
Yeah, that's right.
I was at Cardiff when we lost to Argentina in 2015. We lost six players through injury from the previous week, and they absolutely biffed us. They completely biffed us, and it was just, how's this happening? But it was logical when you think about it. But you know, it was like you in that Warburton semi-final. You just couldn't understand how you lost it, even gone down to 14 men. That's the sickening bit about sport, isn't it?
But if it's anything for you, in my opinion, Ireland is still the best team in the world at the moment.
There's a soundbite for you.
I bet really put it in writing, right?
They are the best team in the world at the moment.
Really interested to see them after Sexton. That was the thing I was looking forward to most.
On me.
I was thinking they're not going to be as good without Sexton. Everything went through him, but they just seemed as solid without him.
Yeah, I mean, Crowley had a wee bit of a wobble at the start, but I think the way that he came back from the wobbles, you know, one of his first kicks was charged down, but the 2 fantastic touchline conversions. But it's Like it's not just about him, but the strength of the squad that they have is just unbelievable.
It's a great team around him, isn't it?
Amazing, just unbelievable.
So the man of the match of the day was Joe McCarthy. Any other standout players? I mean, I thought I've now forgotten his name. I'm about to say it. I was saying to you earlier, outside centre.
Aki.
I thought he had a superb game. But Joe McCarthy got the man of the match. Any other players shine for you, Jim, or anyone you're looking forward to seeing?
No, it's interesting. He was a wee bit of an outlier because he was new, and he's a big unit. And as O'Driscoll said on TV, anybody with a haircut that bad has to be a good rugby player, has to deliver. I thought he was just fantastic. You know, for O'Driscoll to say that he brought a physicality to the back row that Ireland hadn't had previously, my God, that's saying something. He must be a beast of a man in real life. We're so used to having been the kind of the people who turn up and have good crack as opposed to the people who turn up and know that they're going to win. I think we have that winning culture now that England would have had 10 years ago and Wales would have had 20 years ago or whatever it was. I'm not saying it was that.
30, 20, 30.
I got to tell you, since we've turned professional, I think Wales have been the most. Have they won the most tournaments?
Have they?
They've certainly won the most Grand Slams in the 2000s, gentlemen.
Yeah, well,
I'll
you
check
know,
that one.
look at the 70s and the 70s and 80s. Wales were it. We're absolutely it.
In the 70s, anyway. 80s, not so much. 80s was a terrible decade for us.
Well, on that note, we'll move on to your game,
Yeah.
actually. So that was we won't. The Italy-England game came first, the early one. Difficult one. Gone to Rome. We've won. I wasn't convinced. I don't know how anyone else felt. I think we had to dig deep to get a result. I think, the players that shone for me weren't necessarily ours. Have we just underestimated Italy? Dave and I were talking in the bar earlier. I mean, but they've beaten some great teams. I mean, but everyone before the game was talking like it was going to be a cricket score. I don't know what you guys felt about it, or what your take was.
I think it was a much better game than people give the result credit for. I think a lot of people saw a really close result and thought that's a poor England performance. Yeah, England could have done better and maybe should have scored a few more. But we had some young players coming through, quite a few debutants or people playing their first few games, and Italy played really well. And I think it was a much better game than maybe people give credit for due to the score. Right. And the likes of Cunningham South and Freeman and some of these people who are, relatively new to the game had absolutely fantastic games, played really, really well. And that's a real huge positive for England and a massive positive for Italy going into the island this week. I think Ireland are going to maybe have a little bit of a score fest against them, but that's just because of where Ireland are, probably more to do with where Italy are at the moment.
Certainly see how good Italy are on the weekend when they play Ireland. You'll see how good they are then, to be honest.
You'll probably see more about how good Ireland are, because I think any team, even France at the moment, are going to struggle against Ireland, just the way they are. So if France are struggling to get a decent score against Ireland, of course Italy are going to really struggle. That's just the way it is. I can't wait for them to play Wales. And see how much Wales
Italy's only problem is the last 5%. They play lovely rugby, but it would drive you nuts. It's just the last 5%, the final pass, or somebody overrunning the ball or whatever. They just can't close out beautiful moves. If they had a killer finisher, or the ability to finish a move off collectively, they'd be way, way better. I was very impressed with them on Saturday. I thought it was going to be a score fest as well. And for it to be 3 points, fair play to them.
Yeah, up there.
And the Italian fans were also happy with the result. We were in the thick of it with them, and they were happy. They thought their team had played well. They all stayed after the game and applauded their team. And it wasn't necessarily a good score for them, but it's the smallest margin of victory England have ever had over Italy.
Yeah,
which says a lot about how Italy played and defended well.
Against a good England team as well.
But on paper, they're a very good team.
Yeah,
England.
I'm not sure I'm not sure that Borthwick has got his style sorted out yet. Because you look, a normal England machine would have put 20 points on them. You know,
He hasn't got that team playing as a team yet. He just hasn't. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on that. I'm quite happy about it, to be honest with you, being a Welshman. But I can't put my finger on it because you look at that team on paper and you think, wow, some of them players are guaranteed to be in a Lions. If a Lions were going this year, there's 3 or 4 of them players automatically win that team for me on paper.
Yeah.
Well, I never say that, but it's true. It's a great team on paper, but they just don't seem to be doing it on the field. I don't. For what reason?
That's a pretty good point. That's a pretty good point, Dave. So I'm not entirely sure how many Englishmen would get in the land squad at the minute. The starting 15. I'm not sure who. There's one.
Well, Earl would get in it for me personally. Number 8, I think he's the best number 8 in Britain. And I don't say that about England players. Let me tell you, for me. I think he's the best number 8 in Britain. He's certainly in the back row, and he could play anywhere in that back row. And there are some great back row players in Britain at the moment.
Yeah,
between Ireland, in Wales, Follett was played great, but Follett was coming at the end of his career. Although he's injured at the moment, we missed him the weekend. I can assure you. But man of the match was the number 8, which whatever. But Earl will certainly get in there, and there's 2 or 3 other players that will be knocking on the door for me personally. Most of it would be Ireland, of course.
Yeah.
I can't think of any Welshmen that might get in there. One of them's out in America playing now, but there we are.
And so, God, any kind of Owen Farrell hangover that we're seeing there? I mean, I said to David earlier on, I thought it was a nervy. I mean, you were kind of supporting me. I thought it was a nervy start from Ford. I mean, he caught the upright on the first kick, didn't he? And then did he miss one and then get the next one, or was it the other way around? He didn't look assured to me, and that has always been for a long time part of our game, right? Very much our game. And when the cohesion between the forwards and the backs is when you're saying they're not quite playing together, that might be it. We're trying to play a different style of rugby.
But Ford is, fair. That's Ford's a great outside half. I think Ford's the best outside half in England. I gotta be honest with you. I thought that for a long time. If Farrell's going to play centre. He's better in the centre. I think
Farrell brings is he's a leader. That's the difference.
It's leadership.
All about leadership.
George Ford's as good a 10 as Farrell, but he's not a leader in the same way. And missing the likes of Ellis Genge, who would have been our leader for that game, probably made a huge difference.
Yeah,
I was disappointed personally that Borthwick, by the way, the only Cumbrian ever to be the head coach of England, as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong there, boys. And that he did have a ball to play Finn Smith, who is on fire in the Premiership at the moment. And if you're going to play him, there's one country you could risk him against, inverted commas, is Italy, even though it's away. And I was disappointed that he went with this kind of safe-ish option of George with his 195 caps. Finn Smith is a hell of a player. He's a hell of a player. And they did really well preventing him going to play for Scotland because, his uncle was Tom Smith, the Scottish international British Lion. He did very, very well to nip that in the bud. I'm biased because he's a Worcester boy, but he's a great kid and a great player.
I agree. And I think that there's a lot to be said for playing people on form. He's always absolutely on form at the moment. And exactly like Jim was just saying, if you're going to play him, that's, against technically on paper the weakest side, even though it's away and a bit of a cauldron or whatever. Yeah. Play, but he's on form. So just let him play what he plays and let him do what he's been doing for, is it Northampton or wherever he is, and fantastic. What they've been doing this season is unreal. So unleash a little bit of that for England, and
it's
going to be really exciting to see.
Saints signed him on the basis that they thought he was good enough for them to let Biggar go to France. And that tells you something.
Yeah, he's way better than Dan Biggar.
You've got to be joking. You've got to be joking.
Exactly. I'll reel him in. You line him up, I'll reel him in.
But in general, guys, I mean, was it? Did you walk away from that going, okay, first game, finding our feet? How do we? What's the overall feeling about the game? About how we performed? Is there just more to come? We're just the cohesion's not quite there. What do we think?
I think they were almost
I think
too
about it.
fast for their own good. Ruck speed was clearly something that England have really tried to work on, and every ruck was 60% of them were less than 3 seconds.
First half was outstanding.
They just were almost too fast for their own good. But once they unleash the likes of Tommy Freeman, they just need everyone to be working on that. But there's no harm in slowing a game down either, and it's having a 9 that knows that, and you've had an experienced 9 retire or not get selected. And
I personally think that the Wales team that turned up for the second half in Cardiff last week will beat England.
Well, there's a nice segue.
I was going to say, slide that one in. Let's see. let's see
Well,
who
obviously,
turns
I'm
up.
going to agree with that.
Well, listen, let's go. I mean, the only last thing I was going to say there was obviously on that point, man of the match for it was the English Ethan Roots. Any other players that stood out for you guys, or anyone you want to see getting into the fold for the next for the Wales game?
I thought Tommy Freeman was really good. He
Right.
created
Yeah,
that.
I
Was
agree.
it Henry Slade try?
Yeah.
Just line breaks, and he just looked solid.
He did.
And he looked really fresh and quick, and he looked quite. He didn't look like kind of slowed down by the whole England. You know, Jim was saying before about the England setup not really firing the way Stuart Lancaster wants it to, but Freeman looked like he was kind of a bit more free of that. So a little bit more of that with a few other players, and particularly him next time, because we've got an unchanged team for this weekend, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, I think if we can have a little bit more of that freedom and willing to try stuff and not be kind of slowed down by the process, I think that'd be really good.
Yeah, I think Borthwick is such a risk averse coach, whereas Gatlin, for example, who's a wee bit older and a bit wiser, he's had the confidence to make 7 changes for this week based on the second half performance. And Rowlands is back after he wasn't available because of the birth of his child. I mean, that's
George North.
George North back in. I just think that Steve Borthwick was a wee bit conservative for me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and that's why some of those younger players coming through just need to be given a bit of freedom to and take away some of the more conservative players. We just talked about the fly half, and let some of the kids have a go at it, and risk a few results. We'll all cry if we lose, and we'll all, particularly if we lose to Wales, we'll get really upset, but we won't.
Yeah, but
so
you know
it's
what?
fine. Kids
You know
have a go, we'll be fine.
The thing about it is, the great thing about the Six Nations is it's not like the European Championships or the World Cup in football. Comes around very quickly. Again, you can eradicate the problems the next year, and you got the autumn internationals. It's all about the bigger picture. As long as people have a good time, enjoy rugby, and they see a development in a style for the team, then happy days.
Exactly, and playing well, and having a really entertaining game and playing well is almost as important as the result. Wales have only won ever 2 Six Nations games in Twickenham. Let them have a third one. Come on, what's the big deal? 3 is only a tiny little number. Just let them have one. It's no drama.
Yeah, but the most
They went
important one
28
was
years
the
when in Cardiff. So
Oh yeah, I've got only one at Twickenham. Yeah, good point.
Well, it brings us beautifully into the in the Wales Scotland game, talking about teams in transition. Is that what's going on as we look to the last game? Were Wales Scotland the hallowed turf as well? It's very much, as I said to you before, a game of 2 halves. Perhaps a little bit of ill discipline and dissent in the first half from Wales. They come out in the second half, concede again. And then an incredible off the bench transition. what was the were they set up wrong? Do you feel that what was the catalyst that changed the game?
From the start, I would like to be in the dressing room at half time to see what he did tell him. I'm sure he would have said something like, "You 15 bastards not going to play next week because you're crap."
Yeah.
No,
So how were you feeling at halftime?
it was quiet,
Right.
which is not me.
I've got to tell a little backstory just before we get into this. Is that David, as much as he comes into our place, he's never ever, other than actually one occasion was a year ago. Who were we playing? I can't remember. World Cup. He's never watched the rugby when Wales are playing in there, and he said because people will leave. Although he has no problem coming to England games. Have you noticed that one? In his Wales shirt, standing in the corner, just mocking us as we. But no. So anyway, see. Lost for words.
First half was dire. But what he done, he changed 3 key players for me. Second half, yes, okay, they lost a try in the first 2 or 3 minutes of the second half, but then they just turned it on. The 2 outs, the scrum half, outside half, and the hooker. Hooker couldn't hit the barn door in the first half.
Yeah.
Couldn't hit the barn. He's just rubbish. As soon as he changed hooker, I don't think we lost a line out second half, do we? I don't think we did.
No, I don't think so.
And I think we scored 2 or 3 tries from the line out.
Yeah.
I mean,
Got the strike going.
and the scrum half, I like Garth Davis. I always liked him. He's been a great player. He played for the Lions. He's been a great player. But he just had an absolute, I don't know if he's played older. He had a nightmare. He couldn't do anything right. And the outside half, young boy, he was the same. He had a couple of clouts, I think, early on, and he just couldn't get himself into the game. When them 3 were changed, the game just changed. And I am a bit upset that we didn't win the game, to be honest with you. I thought we were good enough to win the game at the second half. But we were. It's a game of 2 halves. If a Scotsman was sitting next to me, he would love the first half and he hated the second, and it's vice versa with me. It's that kind of game. And if we do turn up, if that second half team turns up against England, it's going to be a cracking game. That's a sure thing.
I'll tell you what.
I don't think the England team will play as. I won't say poor, because they didn't play. They played pretty decent. They won't play against us like they play against Italy. They'll keep it a bit tighter against us, I think, if we are playing like we played in the second half last week.
Yeah, but you've your two halfbacks make such a difference in the second half, and that boy Johan
Lloyd, yeah.
I really enjoyed watching him for Bristol over the last couple of years. He's a smashing player.
He is a great little player.
And Thomas Williams, I don't know what's going on, why he wasn't starting, but I honestly, I think you'll give him a hell of a game on Saturday. I really do.
Yeah, I think it'll be a great game. I can't be honest with you. I really do. My just to add to that, my daughter will be sitting in the 7th row behind the posts. With my son-in-law.
Cheering England on.
she would be, I can assure you.
You never know. You never know.
No, I do know. She's
So,
what I am.
So they're like us. They're a mixed race family.
A mixed race, I
mean, the one thing for sure touched on earlier, you know, when I think the Scots asked for the roof not to be on, and then the roof went on, and I can absolutely imagine what that would have been like in that stadium when they started on that comeback. So, and they got so close, obviously, you know, incredible atmosphere, I imagine.
That's one thing I'm going to come back to. That's one thing that really, really annoys me. The away team decide if the roof is open or not. I don't know if you all know that.
It should be.
Why is that?
I got no idea. The away team decide if it's open or closed. I can't get it. We're playing in Wales. Well, we'll decide if it's open or not. No, it's the away team.
But more to the point, the WRU paid for the roof, so use the bloody thing.
You're right enough.
The phone's died again, Jim. Just to let you know. I don't know if that's just. I don't know. Is it died or is it just?
No, also, when did people start playing rugby indoors? That's not That's not a thing, right? That's
It's good for the snow, isn't it?
because it snows in Cardiff all the time, right?
Well, it rains in Cardiff all the time.
So Aaron Wainwright got the Wales man of the match. And again, I asked the question again: any more other players that we should be looking at, or whether you'd like to see start, or is the team going to be unchanged for? I mean, I think it will be, will it?
No, the team is being picked already.
Yeah.
7 changes.
7 changes.
I didn't think Wainwright was the man of the match for me. He wasn't the best Welsh player for me. I thought Rafael was the best Welsh player.
Right.
Number 7. I thought he was outstanding. He was outstanding in both halves.
He's brilliant.
He's the only player who played in the first half. In all fairness, I think he done 4 turnovers in the first half. Incredible for number 7.
Yeah.
He was
That's
everywhere.
his game, that's entirely his game.
Yeah, it is his game. He's a great player.
Is it fair to say? Do you feel like they're in? I mean, again, there are a lot of people saying 2 years, another year, 2 years. You got a hell of a team. Are they not just there yet? I mean, I think you got 25-1 last week. Aren't they? They're out to 100s now.
It is 100.
You did have a bet though, didn't you?
I put 20 quid on them. Yes, I put 20 quid on Scotland to win the championship.
Really?
I did, yeah. And I put £10 on Wales to win it.
Oh well.
Only because the odds on Ireland and France.
There's
were
a lot more
ridiculous.
money in his business than there is in mine. If he can afford to be chucking that kind of money around, bloody hell. So,
Well, look, let's look forward to the coming weekend as we draw to a close. You got Scotland, France on Saturday. I mean, what do we? We haven't got our Scottish compatriot is not with us. So, what's our thoughts on that, guys? Anyone got to give
Yeah.
Scotland a chance?
Shall I start?
I think Scotland are going to be.
I think
fired up.
Scotland are going to beat them. I think
me
Scotland
too.
will beat France. In Murrayfield.
Me too.
Wow.
Scotland are fired up. Finn Russell was seething at the end of the game. He's
Best-
going to be fired up for this weekend.
Best outside half in Britain. Maybe best outside half in the world, that man.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a great outside half. He can win and lose a game, but when he's on fire, he is the best outside half in the world.
Are
At
you
the
just
moment.
saying that because
No,
you've
no.
just lost to them? But
No.
his Celts all stick together, don't they?
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
all
yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
no, my money's on France. I think Scotland will be absolutely on fire. They'll be super confident after that, but I don't think they'll be.
it'll be
strong enough
it'll be
for
a
France.
close game. I got a sneaky feeling Scotland will edge it. I got to be honest.
is that because
In-
they're at home or
In
you-
Murrayfield, yeah, I think so.
okay?
I'm with you on that.
You're on that one as well. And so
Yeah.
England, Wales.
I'll go-
Cross
Wales
swords
23,
here, aren't we?
England
I'll go
22.
last.
What are you saying, Jim?
I'm saying Wales by a point.
Wales by a point.
Yeah.
He's nodding here.
I'll go Wales. Yeah, it'll be close. It'll be 2 or 3 points, but it'll be Wales. I think they're coming out
How
to
do we
beat
feel?
England.
How do we feel about that, chaps?
No, I think after the score aside, I think after the last England performance, and I think exactly like Jim said, if they can play with if Borthwick can just kind of relax a little bit and just let the team play with a little bit more freedom, I think they'll put quite a few points past Wales. Now they'll probably concede quite a few against Wales as well, but I think England will win comfortably.
I think if the ruck speed stays the same as it was last week for England, they'll beat Wales.
Yeah, Wales won't be able to
Less
compete
than
with that
3
speed.
second rucks, they're not going to.
Wales
No one
can't-
can at this level, and that's what's won New Zealand so much. And
I think we'll all be watching the game in here, won't we?
Yeah.
Will you be here? Yeah. I'll be here.
But you don't come in here for Wales games, so we'll be round at your house.
I will be this week.
Look forward to it.
Tables booked for weeks.
And of course, the Ireland Italy game finishes off the weekend in Dublin. I mean, I'm assuming you're feeling very confident about that, but not to be underestimated.
No, I think I can see Italy getting 2 or 3 tries, but I think Ireland it'll be 45-17, something like that. I think
45,
you know they have Italy have tries in them. They definitely do, but I just think the machine will overwhelm them.
Well, look, this leads us quite nicely into our last piece, which is this Six Nations showdown, where we do a competition with the guests that come on. So we're just going to do a prediction, really. Some of them are quite broad, but it's a point scoring thing, and we're going to give away some Six Nations merch to the winner. So the first question, I'm going to need to record this while I just to write this down while I do it. The first question really is to predict the winner of each match. So if I go Callum first, the winner of let's start at the top. That's the winner of Scotland France.
I think France are going to edge it.
France for you. And the next question is England Wales.
England for that one. I've got to go England for that one.
England, and then obviously Ireland, Italy.
I'm going to go Ireland for that one.
Ireland there. Then for 10 points, which gives you extra, you got to guess the score. Go for that one.
2017 to England.
Sorry, just go Scotland, France first.
Scotland, France. I thought France would 30-20 France.
30-20. Then we're going to go for the England game.
2017 to
2017
England.
to England. And then the Ireland-Italy game.
I did 12-45 to Ireland.
Wow. Okay. Jim, let's have you. So out of the Scotland-France game.
Scotland.
Scotland. And then you're going, and then the England.
Wales.
Wales.
Yeah.
Wales. And then obviously Ireland.
Yeah.
And then let's go for the score of the Scotland game.
23-19.
23-19. And then the Wales game.
22-23.
22. Oh, very close. 23. And then we're going to go
45-17. I've given Italy 5 more points than Callum.
25-17 or
No, 45-17.
45-17. Okay. Dave?
Scotland.
So you're going Scotland. 1 second. Scotland. And then obviously Wales.
Wales, yeah.
Even asking you, is there craziness? And then Ireland, I assume.
Ireland, yeah.
And so the score for the Scotland game?
It's going to be close. I'll go 24-20 to Scotland.
24-20.
Yep.
Okay, you'll be able to hear in there. 24-20 for the Scotland game.
Yep.
Just need to turn off the thing. 24-20. Okay, and then the Wales game?
25-19.
25-19, and then Ireland.
I'm going to go 50 points
Wow.
No,
to 12.
12. Okay. And I'm still getting a thing if you can take it off speaker. Is that possible? Right, Dan.
hang on.
Scotland, France.
Your feedback. I can't. The speaker turn.
Okay.
France. Where's your speaker?
Yeah, it's down there.
Right. Yeah, I'm with France in the first game, and I think it's going to be fairly close. I'm thinking
Just go, sorry, France, then England.
and then Ireland.
In France, England, Ireland. And so, yeah, so the score on the England, on the France game.
Maybe 17-10.
Okay. And then the England game.
I think it's going to be about 24-17.
Okay. And then the Ireland game.
I think they're going to hit 50 points
Okay. And
to about 14.
so everyone's predicting a rout on that front. So the next question, just to add into the scoring, is the top scorer of the week.
So not per match, but of the week.
You've got the Irish
Of the
on,
week.
on that score.
I think if Jack Crawley's picked, it's going to be him. Kicking for Ireland this weekend's a shoe-in for that, I think.
Okay. Jim?
Good point. So I had gone for try scorers rather than total points. You're absolutely right about Crowley. If it had been try scorers, I would have gone for Sheehan for Ireland, George for England, and Van der Merwe for Scotland. But I'd say I would go with Crowley as well.
Dave?
Yeah, I go for the Irish winger. Is it Sheehan, is it? No, what's his name? Double the A?
James Lowe.
Low. I think he's just on fire. He's on fire every time he plays.
Dan?
I'm with the other two guys with the number 10 for Ireland. I think he's might sneak a couple of tries, but he'll kick.
So who's
Jack.
Jack Crawley.
Crawley.
Oh, Crawley again?
Yeah. If he can sneak a couple of tries on top of all his kicking of all those everyone else's tries.
All right. Well, we'll share them in the in the comment section. That's some of the things, particularly. Yeah. So we've locked them in. So hopefully it'll be interesting to see. I mean, the outstanding thing there is obviously the bit like we were saying, or people were saying, with England and Italy, that it will be a bit of a fait accompli. It'll be interesting to see who it is. I guess we'll get a measure of Italy this weekend when they play against Ireland, who, as we're all anticipating, will be a cricket score. But it remains to be seen.
Yep.
Well, guys, listen, we've come to. I'm not going to hold you anymore. We're an hour in, so I hope we've all enjoyed it. Thank you, everyone, for coming down. We're going to do it on a weekly basis, so if you're around, then it'll be wonderful for anyone else to jump back on and see whether we were right, wrong, or indifferent. Hopefully, we will get a result. If not, what table are you on? I'll just stay out of that section if I can hear you hollowing at on Saturday afternoon. But thank you very much, guys. Thank you all. Thanks, Jim, for joining us. And we'll go off air and we'll just say a quick goodbyes afterwards. But thank you very much, guys.
Can I ask you one last question, Mark, before you go?
Go on.
Are Windermere in the same league in Cumbrian rugby as Workington?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
My wife's from Workington, and her father was heavily involved with the Zebras in the old days.
We played them twice already this season, I think. So, yeah, nice club up there. They're not the roughest of the West Coast teams, but yeah, they're up there.
Where are you in the league?
12.
Who's the best team in the league?
Carlisle at the top of our league at the moment.
Right.
Carlisle have been doing really well this season. We've gone up a league, and it's been a big step up for us. But
Massive change in the level, is it?
yeah, big step up for us. But we've got better and better.
My youngest daughter wants to go on a trip to another trip to Workington, so we'll try and take in a rugby match, and if it included playing against you guys, that'd be great.
Brilliant. Thanks, mates. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for coming on, and we'll see you all very soon, hopefully.
Diolch am fawr.
Cool. Cool. Anything stream.